What is up agents, this is Wrecker, back with another really strong DPS build using the all new exotic AR Strega and the exotic holster called the Centurion Scabbard. Now the amount of DPS buffs you can gain from this combo, including the specific gear set we're running, is just really strong, regardless if you're playing solo or in a group activity. Now along with that, I will also show you a few tips to gain the full potential of both these exotic items. Now with that being said, let's get into the build breakdown and see what we are running. Okay, so starting off with the weapons, we are running Strega, the exotic rifle, of course, as our primary. For the base numbers, we are sitting at 148k base damage. Of course, I have put in 13% expertise onto this weapon, but that's not necessary. It is just something that I do personally, as it does not cost any exotics. But anyways, the base RPM we are having on this weapon is 700 and a mag of 40. Now as far as the attributes go, of course, damage to targets out of cover as your third one should be, so reroll a few times until you get that. But for the talent that it comes with, it's pretty good actually. So killing an enemy will apply a mark on every within 20 meters of it. So basically, it's gonna apply 5 stacks max to the enemy that is within the same 20-meter radius for the enemy that you are trying to kill. So what I do personally is that I keep killing low health enemies, let's say for example the red or purple bars, so that the stacks are being applied to the more heavier enemies, let's say the chungas or the dogs, or maybe there's a boss within the same group. That's what I do personally, which I will also demonstrate in the firing range how does that looks like. But the only reason for that is that to gain the full potential out of this talent. So if you see at the bottom half, it says deal 15% amp damage per marked enemy. So if it's on full stacks, 5 is that, and you're gonna get 75% amplified damage to that particular enemy. So that's what I do personally during gameplay. But of course, you can play however you prefer, but this is the most optimal way to gain the full potential out of this talent. So just keep killing the low health bar enemies until you have full stacks, or at least higher number of stacks on the heavier enemy, and then you shoot that enemy to get the full amp damage. But yeah, that's what I do personally. As far as the attachments go, we have 5% crit damage, plus 20 rounds, 10% weapon handling, and 5% critical hit chance. Now for the secondary, I'm running my Dark Winter. It just got a buff in this update. It's insanely good. I still use this SMG in my other run and gun builds. It's insanely good. But of course, same attributes, damage, targets out of cover, and the talent is something that got buffed in the recent update. Previously, we only used to have like 50% crit damage when it's active. Now we have 90%, so that's insanely good. Now also the reason I'm using this is because of the holster that we're running on the build, which I'll showcase in a bit. But yeah, these are the two weapons we are running on the set. Okay, so starting off with the full build, we are basically running the gunner spec here. For obvious reasons, I'm not going to go for too detail in that. But as far as the gear items go, we are running 4-piece Negotiator's Dilemma, including the backpack, 1-piece Chiska, and the exotic holster that came out with the update called Scabbard. So, but we'll jump into that a bit. But starting off with the gear set itself, Negotiator's Dilemma, we're getting 15% crit chance, 20% crit damage, and then the full 4-piece talent here. So basically, you're gonna apply marks to up to 3 enemies for 20 seconds. So every time you hit an enemy with a critical hit, you can mark up to 3 enemies with those. So once you do that, even if you kill 1 enemy, the other 2 enemies are gonna receive 60% of the same amount of damage. So it's pretty straightforward. I'm sure you guys know what that look, in combat, but yeah, that's pretty much it. The other things are just tiny little perks that only enhance the gear set itself, and that is also the reason we are running the backpack. But before we get into that, the last part says we're gonna get plus 2% critical hit damage, stacking up to 20 times for each marked enemy. Now in full stacks, we're gonna get 40% additional crit hit damage from this gear set. Now this is very good, and I don't think most people notice this, but this is a huge buff. And also, as you can see in the description, and I have tested this in combat, it does not go away, it does not refresh or ends with a cooldown. So as long as you have full stacks and you are in combat, it's not gonna go away. So you don't have to worry about the stacks you get from negotiators. But yeah, that's pretty much it. And the reason we are running the backpack for negotiators is to boost up the marked enemies damage dealt up to 112% from 60. Now I could be wrong, I haven't checked the full patch notes, I don't know if that's intentional, but for some reason it used to be 100% with the backpack, but now it says it's 112. But I don't know, just let me know in the comment section below if that's intentional, or I don't know. It used to be 100, now it says 112, but sure, better for us, what can I say. But for at the attribute skill, we are running all reds. I'm not running any blues whatsoever, but that's just my personal preference. You can run any amount of blues that you prefer or feel comfortable with. Now again, all three other pieces for the gear set, we are running all reds. As you can see, weapon damage, crit damage, same thing on the knee pads, and same exact thing on the mask, right? Now moving on to the chest piece, I'm running Cheska here to gain 8% critical hit chance. Again, that's just my personal preference with this setup. You can run Fenris for more AR damage or Grubo for more crit damage, but this is how I like to run it. I'm running all reds as for the other pieces, and again for the talent I'm going with Obliterate. Yes, it got a nerf tiny bit this update, but it's still pretty good. But yeah, totally up to you what talent you want to run. This is just a template. Now lastly, for the exotic holster. Now this is pretty good as far as any crit DPS builds go. This is very good. So basically for the attributes, you're getting weapon damage, weapon handling, and critical hit chance. Now I would prefer to have critical damage with the second attribute, but this is still pretty good. Now the talent that it comes with, it's called Counter. So basically it's gonna give you two different buffs depending on weapon swapping. If you're switching to your primary or secondary, it's gonna give you buffs to that weapon one by one. So the first buff is plus 20% rate of fire and 20% weapon damage, and the second one is plus 50% max side and reload speed. Now ideally, what I do personally is that I start the combat with my pistol in the hand. That way it doesn't trigger any buffs, and then you will have the ability to choose which of your weapons do you want to apply the first buff to. Again, that is 20% rate of fire and 20% magazine and reloads. 20% rate of fire and 20% weapon damage. That's the first buff. Now you will see in the description as well, it says the bonus remain active for 12 seconds or until the next swap. And swapping to your sidearm will not trigger the next group of bonuses. So yeah, this is right. I tested it out. You switch to your pistol, it does not trigger anything. But if you switch from your pistol, that's gonna trigger the first buff. Now I will show that to you in demonstration in the firing range as well, so you know how it looks like and the most efficient way to use it. But yeah, that way I can start with my pistol, switch to my Strega, and then I get the first buff, then keep switching over from secondary to primary and vice versa to get the right amount of buffs on the right weapons. And to show you guys real quick how it looks like in combat, we're in the firing range, and personally I like to start with my pistol, because that way it does not trigger any of the buffs that the holster offers. So if you switch to your pistol and the first weapon that you switch over to, either your secondary or the primary, in our case our primary, that's the Strega, that's gonna give the first buff. So that's 20% rate of fire and 20% weapon damage. So you see, we are on our pistol, I switch to my Strega, that's gonna give me the first buff. So that's increased rate of fire and additional weapon damage. Okay, so if I switch to my secondary, that's my Documenter, now I'm getting increased magazine size and also reload speed. So yeah, this is how this holster basically works. Now as far as the skills go, again totally up to you. I like to run the shield and a turret to be used as a decoy, but totally up to you what you guys want to run as preferred. Now, as far as the stats go, on our Strega, we are sitting at 50% critical hit chance, 166% crit damage, and these are base numbers. Now you can go higher in crit chance, totally up to you, just change a mod and you will be up there in the 60s, but this is how I like to place it preferably. So 50 crit chance, 166 crit damage. Now keep in mind these are base numbers. When you stack up your Negotiator's Dilemma, it's gonna add up to that. So plus 40% crit hit damage from that. So it'll be very good. Then again, we are having the 10% damage drug instead of cover on our Strega, which is now listed here. But yeah, that's as far as the stats go for our Strega. So yeah, that's pretty much it as far as the full build goes. Let me know what you guys think about it in the comment section below. And it hits insanely hard, especially with the combination with the exotic holster and Strega's talent on fully stacks. It's really good. So try it out. Let me know what you guys think about it, and I will catch you guys in the next one. See you.